Hello, everyone. Welcome to Shamanism, Metaphysics, and Grace. We're holding it together here during Mercury retrograde, hoping we can make it through this recording with my favorite astrologer, Jyoti Wind. Jyoti, welcome.
Thank you, Lauren. Glad to be here.
I'm,
Yes,
I'm, I am too. I'm just holding my breath here, Jyoti. We could make this recording happen. So let's do
yes. Well, an acknowledgement to Mercury still being retrograde, and we'll come back to that.
Yes.
Yes. So the first thing I want to look at is the full moon, which is coming on Monday, August 19th at 12:26 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. And it's the Leo Aquarius full moon. And it has a bunch of different things contained within the chart. There's a T cross, a fixed T cross with the sun and moon opposing and the planet Uranus squaring both of those planets. And it's interesting, every time I do the symbol for the T cross, it's also the symbol for time out. And I notice that, and I wonder if that's not what it's saying, like time to just sit back for a minute and take a look and see what else is going on. Because the sun and moon opposing, squaring the planet Uranus is kind of a push to hear that beat of a different drummer, to look at how differently you might want to be doing things than the way we've been doing them up until now.
Jyoti, that just speaking about the square and about the T cross, I'm reminded of your explaining that a square can feel challenging, but then there could be a breakthrough.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
So
And
in
so
light of this, yeah.
yeah, so it's the sun and moon, but they're both squaring the planet Uranus. And so it's kind of pushing us to be willing to listen to something else. And plus, Mercury's still retrograde now, so that inner focus lends to maybe an easier time of listening.
Hmm. Hmm. So maybe something that's been hard for us to hear or tap into becomes more accessible.
I would think so. And anytime the planet Uranus is in play, there's always a desire for freedom and to do things differently and to do things according to your own way of seeing and perceiving. And so it might also push action where there's been inaction.
Hmm.
And it's also the day of the exact Jupiter square Saturn aspect. Um, and so um, Jupiter is squaring Saturn the 17th to the 23rd of August. So starts in 2 days from when we're doing this. And it runs into next week. That same aspect will come again in December of 24, and that same aspect will come in June of 25. And so, what this is saying is when Jupiter and Saturn square, things are fat and thin. You know, there's this kind of like, first it's like there's a lot of something, and then all of a sudden it's kind of skinny over here. And then all of a sudden it swings again where things are kind of fuller and there's more, and then it swings again and it's kind of less. And so it's just this Jupiter of plenty and Saturn of basics. You know, it just kind of swings between those two places this next week.
Hmm. Jyoti, let's talk about that for a minute because that's an interesting aspect. And am I correct that this aspect doesn't show up very often?
It shows up here and there. I don't know the cycle offhand. It's not an everyday thing or an every
Sure.
year thing by any means. Um, if it was in a person's chart, I would say their finances would be flush and then very thin,
Okay.
and then flush again, and then very thin. And there's always the advice, well, when it's flush, put some away because it's going to get thin again. But sometimes when it's flush, you're catching up with when it was thin. You know what I mean? It also, on a health level, it has to do with the adrenals. It has to do with blood sugar issues. It has to do with the pancreas, and it has to do with uh, second chakra energy. Because when you're dealing with blood sugar issues, and you're dealing with I'm not recalling the exact word I want right now, but when you're dealing with second chakra kinds of things, flush and thin, it also has to do with power and empowerment and childhood issues. Has to do with childhood issues. And so it takes you back. This aspect could take people back into looking at, okay, what is it that no longer fits? What is it that needs to be healed and let go of so that I can walk away from this?
So that letting go would be more the Saturn aspect, like paring
Yes,
down.
yes, and embracing a fullness with the Jupiter, and
Okay.
then going back to, what was not enough, the Saturn. And
Yeah.
sometimes with the Jupiter, what was too much, like maybe you had a smothering parent. That's too much.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
Jupiter. And then how do you kind of thin that out into a reasonable lifestyle, or a reasonable way of holding yourself, or a reasonable way of being able to receive love, and
Yeah.
not have it feel smothering.
So we might feel this aspect, like you said, in resources, or we might feel it in our energy levels,
Yes,
might feel
yes,
it in just our outlook on things, like things
yes,
are too much, they're not enough, they're too
ye-
much. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, and
Interesting.
financial, it can feel
Yeah.
that way financially as well.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of off and on theme through the year.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Okay. What else do we have going on?
Well, what else we have is Mercury going direct on August 28th, waiting with bated breath, most people, at 3:14 p.m. Mountain's Daylight Time. And so everything that has gone on for the 3 weeks prior suddenly begins to move and shift, and finding places to put those things we've realized, or act on those things we've had insights into.
Yeah. It's interesting just to kind of look back and take those experiences of the 3 weeks and then just start sifting through them, right? Where are the learnings? What am I bringing forward?
Yes, and what were the insights?
Yeah.
As Mercury started out in early Virgo and retrograded back into Leo, and then came, and now is pivoting to go direct, so that we can act it out or employ those insights, and what it's time for.
Jyoti, so I'm kind of reminded of the last talk we did, and the new moon, and there was kind of that sense of how are we going to show up, right? How are we going to bring our gifts forward or be of service? And looking at that with these current aspects, it seems like there's still like this period of sifting through, right? What
Yes,
what we'll bring
yes.
forward and what we won't.
Right. And also Mercury doesn't catch up and end this particular cycle till September 12th. So from August 28th to September 12th, it's kind of like that time to implement, to see where we want to step forward, to see where we might want to envision for the future or the next phase, what we'd like to implement and do. Because, there's no finished right and done.
Yeah.
We're
Right.
always a work in progress. And so we've had the insights, perhaps we've seen what worked and what didn't work, or what got in our way from stepping up and taking our power. And so then we have from August 28th till September 12th to begin to see how to make changes, how to implement things, how to access our courage.
Mhm. So I'm curious, Jyoti, and I mean, I am jumping ahead, but if we move through this Saturn Jupiter square and we complete Mercury's cycle, what's waiting for us in September?
An eclipse.
Oh, okay.
Another new moon, and the full moon will be an eclipse on the 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were two in the spring and there's two in the fall, one in September and one in early October.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like a pacing.
Mhm.
We're paced in such a way. First we do this, then we do that, then we get to this over here. So that it doesn't feel like we're bombarded and it's all of a sudden too much. I mean, for a lot of people right now, life feels too much.
It's
You
really,
know, it's very full, and it's very full of shifts and changes. I mean, I haven't met anyone who's not going through some fairly big change, looking at moving or selling a place, or relocating, and or somebody who's changing their career focus completely, and yeah, and people who are passing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
getting ready for all of us on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else this time around, Jyoti?
I want to go back to the full moon for a
Yeah.
moment.
Let's do that.
Because also included in this chart of the full moon, Venus is opposing Saturn, pretty close by 1 degree, hardly. And so it's a tight aspect. So it's important, and it has to do with trust.
Mhm.
Venus and Saturn always has to do with trust. Do you trust that what you need will come? Do you trust that the universe is fairly friendly and has your back and has your best interests at heart? So it may bring up trust issues for some people, that are working on that. And so there may be some things that come up around, could be anything: job security, finances, family unit, places to live or move to, that issue of trust. Can I trust this? Can I trust that I know what I know? Can I trust that I have support, visible or invisible support?
Okay.
So with that full moon, and just to say about that full moon, that Aquarius moon opposing the sun, Aquarius moon is very much a championer of the underdog. It's the person who can speak for those who can't speak for themselves. And so there may be some of that in people's lives, where all of a sudden they're making a stand for somebody who just doesn't have the knowledge or the ability to speak for themselves. And so a person steps forward, again, that stepping forward, because it's still Leo, steps forward to accommodate
Mm.
and speak for a person so that they get a share of the pie.
Well, that's interesting. I was thinking that that could very well play out on the world stage too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's peoples who need to be
Yeah,
spoken for.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it's very humanitarian and it's very much global, and it's very, the basic needs that Aquarius says, we all have rights. We're all equal here, from the standing stones and the trees to babies and old people and everybody in between. We all have an equality that needs to be recognized and honored.
Yeah.
And Aquarius moon, that's what this is partially about.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I think that's it. I think it's kind of short and sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jyoti.
Oh, you're welcome, Lauren.